All right, folks, welcome to the fifth episode of Behind the Brand. Thank you so much for being here. We are always honored to have you and for you to share your time with us. My name is Anna Hendricks, and I'm the CEO of Arch Digital Agency, a full-service social media marketing agency that specializes in the health and wellness industries. You can find out more about us at archdigitalagency.com. In addition to managing an agency, I have a personal love of the personal story. From growing up watching Actors Studios to reading memoirs, biographies, nonfiction books, the personal journey has become an obsession for me. I'm so inspired by the stories of normal people who did something extraordinary. But what fascinates me the most isn't the pinnacle, but the climb. On BTB, we get to know people who have managed to take a typical life and turn it into a spectacular one. We'll be discussing the trials and successes, the quirks that make them who they are, and how they continue to grow as individuals. Today, I am super excited. We will be talking about building a successful business after 50 with Miss Jody Oken. But first, I want to introduce my co-host and amazing community manager, KP Kelly, who is a branding consultant and a Twitter marketing specialist at Arch. Thank you so much, KP, for all that you do.
This is my yoga for the week again, my one pose.
Let me make you a host before we continue here. Okay. And now I'm so pleased to introduce my fourth guest on the B2B series, Miss Jody Oken. Jody is the founder of College Financial Aid Advisors. She has successfully helped thousands of families navigate the financial aid process. Her background includes over 10 years in the financial aid industry. She has firsthand experience working with financial aid offices at colleges such as Occidental and Pitzer. Did I say that correctly?
Mm-hmm. You did.
Okay. Jody is the About.com money expert and was recently featured as one of the top 30 social influencers in personal finance and wealth. She's an author, a digital marketing, social media strategist, keynote speaker, consultant, and small business advocate. Through Jody's large and loyal Twitter following, she has organically incorporated philanthropy into her brand. Every Thursday, Jody hosts College Cash, a Twitter chat devoted to connecting college-bound families with higher education professionals. Thank you so much for being here, Jody.
I'm so happy. Thank you. So fun.
We're so honored to have you.
So happy to be here. I was talking to someone this morning, and they're like, how did you meet? And who's echo? Is it me echoing?
I don't hear an echo. You're good.
Okay, good.
I hear an echo.
You do?
Go ahead.
So I said we met on Twitter. I think we were talking about Mercury and retrograde or something, and I was saying what kind of a week it was, and you were saying, oh, well, that's because of this, and we went on and had this like 20-minute conversation on Twitter, which is, I think, amazing, and here we sit.
Yes, absolutely. And we were talking about the Mercury retrograde that was wreaking havoc in our life at the current moment. We were both like, oh my gosh, I might be a believer in the Mercury retrograde now.
Right. I was not a believer until that moment, that tweet that we had.
It was yeah, KP's like, what?
That's how we met. I just kind of like had that, so.
It was a great introduction. We were both kind of geeking out on the chaos happening in life at the moment.
See, and even David is happy to know how we met.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so as a question will be, just to kind of get things going as an icebreaker, this is a segment called Anna Asks. And folks actually from the audience ask a random question.
Okay.
And we all have 1 minute to answer it. So I'm going to get my timer ready.
Holy cow.
And if nobody has a question, then I will ask the one that I've designated for today. Okay. All right. Since we have already discussed David's question about how we met, and we've already talked about Super Bowl. Okay, we have another question from David. What is the one way you mentor other females to be your best self?
Am I going
Jody.
first? Okay.
Absolutely. You have 1 moment. 1 minute.
1 minute. I always encourage other females to meet other females who maybe they might have something in common with or something that they admire about them, and ask questions and meet with them and talk to them so that they can have maybe being their best self. I had some great mentors in my life, like 5 amazing women that have taken me through my journey. And I probably wouldn't be here right now today if it wasn't for these 5 women in my life. And they all bring something different. So the best is the ask. The best is like the ask to have them be your mentor. That was my 1 minute.
Great answer. Mm-hmm. You did well. Still 12 seconds.
Holy cow.
Now, do I get to answer how I help other young women mentor?
Yes, you do, because I know that you have helped a lot of women with their careers. So go ahead, Kevin. What is the one way you mentor other females to be their best self?
That is true. Well, so I do help mentor a lot of women, and I don't know how I got into that role. A lot seek me out. I think part of that is because of the blogs that I post about kind of relationships and things like that. And I'm doing things for kids and stuff. Yeah, I'm like a giant guy, so I think something with that. And I grew up with 5 sisters, so I think it kind of comes natural to have those conversations with women. So how to help them? That's a good question. I should dive into that more. But what I actually think is it's kind of the same as helping anybody, is that you get to understand them and find out where they are, find out where they want to go. And then if there's a way that you can help them get there, then that's the help that you provide. And I think with some of the women that have come into my life or people I've met through online, I've been able to help because they've maybe been open about where they are and where they want to go. And then I've just been blessed with the ability to help get them there. And I'm out of time. I always run out of time.
Tick, tick, tick. KP is infamous for long answers, Miss Jody.
I like that. Good quality.
Okay, so for my minute, I think that empowering women is something that women must do. I think that always just showing support, getting them involved, showing interest in what it is that they're doing, trying to get to know them, introducing them to other women. I mean, a girl's got to have her girls, you know? If you aren't surrounded by incredible women, then you're missing out, because women need each other so much. And I think that when women are really able to, you know, get past whatever weird thing is out there with some women, we can just do incredible things together. So I'm always for that. I'm always overly friendly. It's just a part of who I am, and just truly enjoy connecting women and empowering them. So that's my answer.
And Anna, you have told me before that I am just one of the girls.
He is. He wants to be in my wedding one day.
As a bridegroom.
Duly noted.
Okay, let's do one more question before we jump in here. We had one from Dennis come in.
My father's name is Dennis.
What do you think of the Blab platform, and how could businesses use it? Jody, 1 minute.
Oh man. I like Blab. I think that you can use it for different parts of your business. One, are you comfortable in front of camera? Is that something that you need to work on, or something where having that kind of part of your business thrive? So that's one thing. And then I think networking with different groups will help your business grow. So if you're comfortable in one area and not comfortable in another area, you can meet KP or Anna or whoever, and they can maybe network you to thrive in another area that maybe hasn't been working. So I think Blab has brought a lot of people that would have maybe never met together face to face. So I think it's good. I always have extra time. Short answers.
You did great. 12 seconds again.
See?
Perfect. Okay. Miss Christina is leaving. Thank you so much for jumping in. Come back and see us. Okay, KP, you have 1 minute. What do you think of the Blab platform, and how could businesses use it?
I like the Blab platform. I mean, obviously, it's a good place to host a behind the brand show. But yeah, I mean, Blab is in its beginning states. It's still in beta, as you see as you look to the top left. So technology-wise, they still need to make some improvements and work out all the glitches and make it a little more secure. And then once they do that, they probably roll it out even bigger. And it can be a good platform for businesses. It's not for all businesses. It's not for all people. But it's a great way to kind of connect with people, show your expertise. And it's also a good way to create a show and then have a video that you can use on multiple platforms. You can take this video and upload it on YouTube and make a podcast and all those sorts of things. So that's another great way to use Blab. And I know I'm probably running out of time. I don't want to run out of time, so I'm going to shut up now.
Did you make it? I also don't know.
3 seconds. 3 seconds. It's like,
yeah. My goal is not to have a good answer. It's to have like a 59.9 second answer.
That's a good goal. Good goal.
Okay, 1 minute. What do you think of the Blab platform and how can businesses use it? I think Blab is an incredible platform. I think that it's still very young. I certainly think that, you know, we need to see more updates. I'd like to see the ability for folks to be a little bit more interactive, maybe to be able to kind of choose the screens more, have a little bit more control over what we have in empty spaces, those sorts of things. Like we were talking before the show about maybe being able to like pin a quote or something we really like along the way. You know, just a couple of little like fun networking, well, I should say design type things. I think in terms of business, content creation is going to be huge for Blab. It's a great way to meet people. It's a great way to expand your network. I love any opportunity to be able to interview folks in a different sort of setting. So I'm really thankful for it. But being able to walk away with an audio file and video, there it goes. It's fantastic. End of, I'm done. Done. Cut. Christy, my timer goes off, so it just, don't worry. I'm timing myself as well. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the show. Once again, Jody, I just want to thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here.
Definitely thrilled to have you. I feel like we're going to have lots of questions coming through. So folks, make sure if you have questions along the way to ask them, and we can weave them into the conversation. We will be opening up the seat at 9 o'clock when we actually stop recording. So if you want to wait to speak with her then, that's cool too. So Jody, when you and I spoke initially, you know, we got to know each other online through this Mercury, you know, retrograde kind of randomness, and then just kind of started talking back and forth. And of course, College Cash was the way that I knew you, but I had assumed that this is something that you had always been working on. So when we actually connected on the phone and really talked in depth about your story, I was so excited to hear that this is actually something that is still quite new, considering it's your own business. But what I'd like to talk to you about is just kind of starting out where you told me you've been married for 32 years. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you were in retail when you met your husband. Is that right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So how was it that you kind of made this decision to kind of step into the role more of like a mother and kind of put your career on hold at an early age?
So I definitely, my husband and I got married very young. I was very young. He's 9 years older than I am. And I worked retail. I worked for the Guess guys and opened all their stores in Southern California. I think at some point, you know, in your relationships or in career, you know, when you're building or having a family, you know, if you have two working parents, you know, things happen. Babysitters do happen or don't happen. And I think at some point we had to make a decision as parents as to what was going to happen next. I couldn't find the good babysitters at the time. And so I decided to stay home. And though I thought I was always going to be a working woman, I ended up being an at-home mom. And But when I was at home, I volunteered my life away. So I pretty much was the president of everything, the treasurer of everything, the auditor of everything. And so when my kids were almost done with high school, I just decided to transition into what was going to be sort of the next chapter. And I kind of had no idea what was going to happen. And a friend of mine, we would run every day, and she just said, you know what, it's time for you to decide. And so I decided that I love education. I love college education. I love post-secondary education. And I like to be the president, owner, money girl of everything. And so we came up with this company. It was crazy.
So how was it that you got into financial aid?
So I took a class at UCLA on financial aid, and the teacher of my class was the financial director at Occidental College. So I picked up the phone and called her up and said, hey, I'm going to be in the area, but like I live in Seal Beach and Pasadena's over here. I was not going to be in the area. So she's like, yeah, sure, come over. I'd love to meet you. And so when I got there, I had this like whole presentation ready and just said, I really want to open a company and help families with financial aid. And would you hire me and teach me everything you knew? And no, and she did. And so for 6 years, I worked at the college and started helping families on the side, which is probably the most amazing thing that I've ever done and why I call it philanthropy. But then I decided to open like this second business, which is social media. And that's sort of where things started thriving. So as probably most of us know, doing social media is the way to network and kind of grow your company without having a lot of cost when you're a startup. And so that's the second sort of part of this journey that I'm on.
Now, this woman played a huge role in your life in terms of becoming a mentor to you. Mm-hmm. How was it that you were like able to connect with her? Did that happen? I know you had to go out of your way to, make an appointment with her, but how did you know that she was someone that you wanted to have mentor you?
Well, I didn't really know. I just think that at that time, I think she was probably ready to be a mentor. And I needed a mentor. And so we both brought something to the table. I think when you're, ready to take someone on in your life that can give you something that you don't have, and then you're ready to give, I think that mentors come together, no matter where you are in your life. So she really needed that woman companionship that you were talking about before in her life, of a person that was of her age. And so I landed probably in the right spot. And that's where we just gave each other a lot of friendship. And we gave each other a lot of business stuff too. And that's sort of where I am at now. So it's really nice. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, Anna, but it's really nice that I get to give it back to her in a little bit, because I am writing my first book and I have asked her to write the foreword. And so it's sort of an honor for her in a way to be able to give it back to that was the person who saw her 10 years ago. So it's kind of full circle. It's kind of the coolest thing I've ever done.
Absolutely. No, when you and I spoke about that, I was just kind of tearing up thinking about being in that sort of a position, about how incredible that would be. So you actually worked for her then. It wasn't just like an internship or anything like that. You were working for her and she was kind of showing you the ropes in the business.
I mean, I'm going to say I actually worked for free for her for the first 6 months, because I did. I mean, I wanted it that bad. And then after that, she hired me on. So I filed to the third letter. I mean, I did just about everything. And I never had, I don't know if you guys, KP or Anna, I don't know if you guys have entrepreneur spirit, but I definitely never thought that was something that is me. I'm kind of a very literal woman, someone who's on time, very organized, and I thought the entrepreneurship to me was not something that was in me at all. So I would never even consider it at all. So to be in this spot is fabulous.
That's interesting. So you weren't like naturally inclined towards the entrepreneur spirit. Where did that kind of
have no idea? I have no idea. I mean, my husband is an entrepreneur spirit all the way. I never had it. Like, I wouldn't even think that I thought good things about it. Like, I would be like, dude, like, can't you just like, everyone has no. Mm-mm. And everything that I have done in my company is brand new, like startup kind of thing. Nothing that I ever knew before. So I would never describe myself that way. It's kind of an interesting journey in that sense.
That is extremely interesting. So where did the idea to actually start branching out on your own, how did that kind of take shape?
So I think I'm an avid learner. So, once I realized, I can have my own company, then I heard you had to have a website. And then I heard you had to have a website, I was like, okay, well, I need to build a website. So I need to read out how to build a website. And then, so I'm a very avid learner. So I read a lot and try to figure out, okay, well, now I need to have a bookkeeping system, or now I need to have, Twitter and Facebook. And so I had to learn all of it. So that was pretty amazing. So I've done it that way the whole entire time. Someone told me I shouldn't have a Flash website. So then I had to have WordPress. So then I had to learn how to do WordPress. So
it's much easier than Flash.
But then I'm kind of a control freak. So if I did Flash, then my graphic designer had to do it. And then I didn't want to have him do it. What if I wanted to change my website at midnight? So I had to learn how to do it, right?
So how long were you working for, in this position before you actually started working on the side, or was it a full transition, or how did that happen?
I probably worked at Occidental for a complete year, and then I started seeing 5 clients, and then 10 clients, and then 250 clients, and then 300 clients. And so it's kind of progressed.
Okay. So in the, we'll call it your daytime job. What was it that you were doing with them?
So when I worked at the college, you're talking about the college, right? So when I worked in the financial aid office, it's sort of, I'll give you everyone a little bit behind the scenes. So whether you're a parent or a student, or you want to know what happens in financial aid, you get a folder, or you have their files of their FAFSA or their CSS profile, and you analyze it to see whether or not that student is going to get financial aid or not. So basically, I was analyzing folders and students and awarding them financial aid or not. And then learning about all of the systems that are required for financial aid officers out of college.
Interesting. Okay. And so that's kind of where the progression came to, like, work on the side more so with families and start kind of advising them and those sorts of things.
Yeah, so I definitely like the idea of families don't understand the system. It's really complicated. And so I sort of thought, you know what, like maybe someone needs to break it down for you. And I'm going to break it down for you because I work in an office. I'm going to kind of tell you how it goes and what someone does every day and what they're looking at. And so families like that. They like to know the inside scoop or the secrets or what's going on, or this is confusing, or I can't do this. And I want my kids to go to college, and I don't want to say no to them.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's fulfilling a need. When I was doing financial aid, it was like, oh my gosh, it's just tell me what to fill out, because I was an adult. I didn't, like, my parents weren't helping me or anything like that. So it was just like, what am I doing? What's going on? So was there any kind of like because you were fulfilling a kind of an issue or a need, I should say, that you had in your daytime job, was there any kind of a problem with kind of the overlap of you taking these folks outside and working with them on the side?
Yeah, so I never really helped anyone that went to that college. So they were mostly my community based. So I started in my community. And so no one in my community really attended Occidental or Pitzer. So there was never an overlap or a judgment in that sense. And then eventually helping families fulfilled me a lot more, I have to say, than going into the office. So at some point, I definitely kind of made that transition and just said to her, I think I'm better served as having my own company and making that transition. I worked at Pitzer and helped out when the director went on maternity leave and took over for her for 6 months. But then I just actually decided that I felt very fulfilled helping families. And social media really crept into my heartstrings. And so helping people on social media and Twitter and College Cash really took over. And those two companies merged together, kind of make a full-time job. Also, working with Discover as their brand ambassador, that is definite. So it's like sort of these three companies where we're really getting the message out a lot louder to families by being a brand ambassador.
Okay, we had a question come in from Miss Shannon. Do you serve clients in California only or other states, private and or state schools?
Yeah, so I help families across the United States. If you're not living in California, then I use the computer and the phone, and we submit everything together. I don't ever submit on anyone's behalf, but yeah, I work with families all over the United States, so it's great. And I do talk with my hands, huh?
I do too.
So I'm just like, wow, this is great.
They're like, Anna, you and your index finger, and I'm like, I can't help it.
So I help everyone everywhere. Yeah, that's my passion. I can't say no.
Okay, we had a great question from Vilma. How did you figure out what rates to charge?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Vilma. So I started at my first 10 clients I did for free. And then I picked a price. It was a pretty low price. And then you know, I run a business where people are applying for financial aid. So I charge a pretty low. My business model was I wanted to be the lowest person out there versus everyone else. So then I could tell when clients wanted to split their payment that I had reached my sweet spot. So when they didn't have to split their payments, then I knew that I had maxed out and I've stayed at that price forever.
Fair enough. That's smart. Okay. We've got some great questions coming in here. Folks, make sure you ask them and we will mix them in to the bunch as we're going along. So you talked about social media kind of coming in, and I know with College Cash, the Twitter chat, was that at what point did that start coming into your business?
So I've been doing College Cash for 4 years. And my idea when I started it was just to talk to other industry professionals and people in the financial aid world about College Cash or financial aid. But then when I realized that everyone is really a mom or a dad or an uncle or a friend or a sister or an aunt, then I really realized that everyone would be interested in it. And wouldn't it be great if we could just give a lot of advice? And so that's when it sort of took off. And then the other thing that sort of happened was financial aid is kind of boring. So we had to figure out how to make it sort of sexy and sort of fun. So then when we opened up the topic and stopped talking just about College Cash and we talked about students and social media or millennial and what do you do when you graduate or where you're going to get your job or how you're going to fix your LinkedIn profile, and we grew our topics, we were able to thrive and bring in a bigger audience. And so that's sort of been our model for College Cash Hour, me, myself, and I kind of talk like that. Like there's just me.
I totally get it. I say we a lot. Yeah, it is me, myself, and I.
Right. I'm a lot of people.
There's a lot going on in here.
Yeah, like the word bubbles.
I was going to ask you that, because financial aid is definitely an industry that's kind of like, I mean, it's just difficult to make it interesting. Right. So, like, I know that you have a team. Is this something that you're constantly brainstorming about, or are people asking you questions and that's where you get your topics? Like, how do you kind of expand on that and keep it fresh and exciting?
Yeah, so it is really not, it's really boring. So I usually go through the calendar year like a school year and then thinking about what are you going to talk about now? So February is pretty tough. Kids are waiting to get into college. They don't really know what's going on. They're stressed out, or maybe they're going to graduate. And I just try to think of what they're thinking of. Like, what are you doing now to get your LinkedIn profile ready for when you graduate? Are you ready have you talked to someone? Have you made your digital footprint the best that it could be? And so I'm just trying to stay always on the edge, and that's where the learning and reading kind of comes in, and what's the latest that everyone's talking about, and how to incorporate that into the company.
Nice. So it's very similar, I would say, to most industries in terms of like taking the calendar year into account and figuring out what subjects are new most relevant.
Yeah.
Okay, we had a question here from Christy. What advice do you have for middle-class kids, parents who don't qualify for financial aid, but they don't have the resources to pay for it themselves without ending up in debt?
Yeah, so I definitely have, a conversation about that. I kind of call it the money talk. So, have you had the money talk with your student? Are you saying that we are going to help or we're not going to help? And letting them know, this is what we have to contribute. And then if you don't have that to contribute, to kind of let them know. So, just like all of us are sitting here, who taught us about money? They're going to need to turn the lights on and pay the rent and turn the gas on. So, are they going to take out debt, or are they going to go to a school that's affordable? And I think that comes from a family decision, to be honest with you. A lot of parents will come to me and say, we're not saying no. Our student worked so hard, we will go into debt. Some families will say, you know what, Jody, we're not going into debt, so maybe our student needs to take out loans. So I don't think there's any judgment. I just think open communication, educated financials is probably the best thing to do. I don't know if the system's correct or not correct about middle class, but it is the system. So college is a need that we have in order to sort of move up or move around.
Right.
It's not really, I didn't mean to say that like that. I think just, you are competing against other people with higher degrees. So what are you going to do? Do you even need it for your job? And to have those open conversations. I don't think, it stinks, but it is the way it is. So what are we going to do about it?
Yeah. Well, I know, like for myself, I went to Chapel Hill, and I was fortunate, to be accepted in the journalism program, which is
amazing.
Was like number one at the time, which was insane.
Right.
But I was so fortunate because it's a public school, and it's not crazy expensive. I didn't walk out of there with crazy debt, and I think that there are a lot of options that are available for students,
right?
And especially if they can come talk to Jody about it.
Yes, apply for scholarships and financial aid.
Absolutely. So let's talk about College Cash for a minute. When is College Cash? Every
Thursday night, 5 p.m. Pacific. And we are just like a formal Twitter chat because, I like to be organized. So I ask my guests and we do formal answers. And I do feel like it's an outreach philanthropy kind of situation where a lot of times I didn't know that I was helping a lot of people who will later on say, hey, Jody, thanks. College Cash was amazing. I never stepped in, but you helped my kids go to college. So it's kind of cool. Absolutely.
No, I think that, education is huge. Whenever I am in the midst of the entrepreneur community, it would be very difficult for me to say, no, don't go to college, because I loved going to college. Of course, I went as an adult, so it was a completely different, I knew what I wanted to go for. And I'm paying debt but I use my degree every day, so it makes it a little bit easier. So what kind of advice, in terms of, when you are talking with students and you are talking with families, how are those discussions kind of, do you even go there with them in terms of, whether private or public, or, if they are considering a very expensive college and maybe it's obvious that they, don't have the resources to really go there without getting themselves in trouble. How do you deal with those kind of touchier subjects?
I'm pretty frank, I'd have to say, because I think you need to be. You're investing in something that's maybe $60,000 times 4. So if we're not frank about it, then I probably am not doing a good job at my job, right? So, and then the other thing is, what are they going to major in? Like, are you majoring in photography, or are you going to major in entrepreneurship or business? And then what are you thinking of doing? And is that return on investment going to be worth it for you at the end? So I do have the conversations, and I love talking to students, because I think parents think one thing and the student may totally feel a different way. So getting them on the same page is great. And watching students mature through the process, I think, is the most fulfilling thing, and to own their process. Being an adult student and owning your process is a lot different than when you're in high school and entering the process. And I like where it goes afterwards, like I'm always going to say, you're going to move out. There's life after college. So even though we think the first day of college is where it starts, what's going to happen afterwards? And are we thinking beyond that? So I do like to talk about that at the kitchen table, kind of money talk thing.
Absolutely. No, I think that's great. I mean, because like you're saying, I think it is very important, to have, the kids get involved in the conversation and to feel like they're a part of a decision, and like you're saying, to own it.
Right.
Obviously, I was an adult when I went back, but if I had been in high school or whatnot, it would have made me feel a lot more responsible. In addition, I think it would have helped me to appreciate the outcome or the process a lot more, so that I was more aware and not just going to use my loan money to go off traveling.
But I just want to add, that I think, we try not, as we parents sometimes try to hide what we don't want the kids to see or understand, or their financials, or maybe what mistakes we have made or haven't made. And I think by letting them in and learning, it's a benefit than it is to shelter them and not have them work and that. So I'm a big, strong advocate of, working is good. You have to do it.
Totally. Yeah. I 100% agree with you. My parents were like, you want something, you work for it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of how it goes, huh?
It kind of should be.
Kind of how it goes. Right?
So in that, kind of just like, you started this business after 50. And I kind of want to bring that back into the discussion.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about it a lot, but no, I'm kidding.
So it was in the later phase of life.
Second act.
What do you think that, because I feel like kind of, making a decision to come back to college as an adult obviously gives me a completely different point of view.
Completely.
Starting a business later on in life, you've got so much more wisdom. I feel like I say 40 is just getting started, because by then you've got this incredible amount of wisdom already. You've got some experience. You've been through some things. What has it been like for you in terms of starting a business at this stage in your life?
Well, I think I was lucky, or not lucky, but sort of in the right niche. It's a pretty hot topic, college and financial, in the same sense. So opening my business at my age, making decisions quickly and having them work or not work was it's a lot easier for me to let it go and pivot in my company, because I know a lot more at my age. So I can pivot quicker and get rid of the things that aren't working and move on to the next thing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I haven't at any point, just kind of in speaking with you about your business, heard about any kind of rough times. Have you dealt with that at all? Have you, hit a place that's been tough for you?
In the beginning, when I don't know when you're not a startup, but for the first 5 years, I definitely did the VA thing, like that. I had virtual assistants all over. I went through a lot of them, and I decided that for me and my company is not the way I work well. So I needed to have someone in my office. So I do have someone who works in my office with me, and I am a much better manager with someone in my office as my associate director than I did virtual assistant. That didn't work for me, I have to say.
Yeah.
And
That's a tough one.
Sooner, I wish I would have learned that a lot sooner. Not that things are, but it would have been a better thing. I think it's a common thing for people to want to use virtual assistants. It did take me a lot of interviews, I have to say, and the kind of person that I wanted to sit across from every single solitary day. But I think that was one of the rough times. And then I think the other thing is starting quickly and building so much stuff is tough when it doesn't work out, but I've managed to let it go. I mean, other things are happening are good.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, we had a question come in from Philip. What are some ways that someone over 50 can reinvent themselves and market themselves in a new career?
Well, I do think that Anna is a perfect example of adult learning. So, I mean, reinventing yourself, school can help with that. So if you definitely want to go back and grow some more brain cells, I think that is a very, very wonderful way. And I think trying to do some soul searching of what makes you happy, what you're good at, and if you're able and you have the ability to be able to do both things at the same time, then you become in a new blessed market. So really a lot of soul searching will help you. And I don't think age has anything to do with it. Just so happens.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I mean, so my parents are entrepreneurs, and my father was actually an English professor.
Really?
Kind of started a business on the side, just was like, let me sell fresh fish one day a week. And then when North Carolina slashed all the education, I think that out of the English department, there were 18, they only kept 3.
Oh, ouch.
And fortunately he had, this business to fall back on. But I think that it's, you just never know in terms of, age is just not a thing,
Right.
he wanted to be able to buy fresh fish. He wanted, and they live in the mountains. So of course that was difficult.
Right.
So I think whenever you are taking care of a need, in addition to not just wanting to do something, that's kind of where the sweet spot can really be.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think you just have to do a self-check, what's going on, what's out there, what do you like to do, and how can you make that work?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you were really fortunate in that you had an amazing company come and pick you up and want to work with you, Discover. Tell us about this just incredible partnership that you have with Discover.
So you just never know, people. I mean, you never know. Like I said, it's just like Blab, where you have a Twitter chat every week and you're looking for guests and you're planning ahead and you have lists and lists and lists. And I had different people on, and I invited Discover one time to be on my Twitter chat. And we met on College Cash, and they took the conversation offline. And we had a couple phone calls where they have never had a brand ambassador before. The PR department, so it's Discover, and then their PR department are the ones who found me. And we talked a lot about, partnering, messaging, what was going to be key, what works for them, what works for me. And we had a lot of conversations. They flew me to Chicago. I met everyone, and we pioneered this brand ambassadorship for Discover, and I have been their brand ambassador for the past 3 years, and I'm thrilled, and I think they're happy too. We have really good messaging about educating parents and families about the process, and so I am one lucky cover girl.
So obviously when I think about Discover, I'm just like, credit card.
Right.
Where is it that they are getting involved in these colleges and in these financial aid programs? How does that kind of all wrap in together?
So they have a student loan department. So they do student loans. And so that's where the marriage is right there. So I am the financial aid girl. And sometimes, federal loans don't cover everything, and some families do pick private loans. So the way we talk about it is we say you need to use your free money, your savings, whatever you have first, use your federal money, and then you need to compare what's happening. Do you need private loans, or do you need federal loans and private loans, whatever you need? So our point is educating the families. And that's how I am their brand ambassador for student loans. They have 4 departments: personal loans, the card, home mortgage, and student loans.
And you just got so blessed with these folks. When she told me about this, I'm like, I want one. We all need one.
Well, I think it's important that if you're looking for a brand ambassador, or you're looking for a brand, that you need to know what you want from them and what you need for your company. And you also need to be able to lay your head down at night. And I am blessed in the fact that Discover does talk about me and my company as part of the messaging. So that's really nice. And so we're able to meet together at the same line.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you kind of what advice you might have for other folks who want to possibly, consider finding this sort of a partnership with another brand, just what your best advice would be for that.
So I think the best advice is having, making sure that your profiles and your bios are really up to par. That's the first thing. So everything is super clear, and, they're all saying the same thing. And then when you're having conversations with the brand, be really clear of what you need and what you want, and make sure that your company morals, values, and standards are being met, and that you're not compromising. So lucky enough, how are you going to be mentioned? Are you going to own your own content? Are they going to own the content for you? Once you create content, does that become their content? So I think all these questions are questions that you should have answered before you're signing on the dotted line, and maybe wearing rose-colored glasses. I think that's important. That that if you're writing blogs and posts and tweets and stuff like that, what does that mean for you and for them? So be really clear about that, and don't shy away from asking questions. I think that's the other thing. They want to make sure you're a match, and you need to make sure that they're a match.
Right. So how long had you been, working on your own before they came along? How many years?
So I've been working on my own for like 7 years ish. And then, so I've been there, we're going on our 3rd year right now.
Okay. So I guess at that point in time, you were confident enough in your skills and your ability and those sorts of things to feel really good about saying, this is what I want, or this is what I need. Was that difficult for you at all?
Yeah. So I do think that's difficult, but like having one mentor in financial aid, I also have another mentor who's a friend of mine who helps me even this morning. If she's listening here, who, phrasing things and not apologizing for them and being positive is something you should be able to bounce off of someone. So you don't always have that confidence, but I do think you can build it.
Okay. So you have a mentor in which, like,
she owns a small
business.
Are
able to kind of give you advice when these sort of opportunities develop. Yeah.
And so say, this is what's happening. This is how, this is my next move. I'm pivoting. And, I do listen to her, but sometimes I pivot, without her, obviously. But I think having a checkpoint is good. And being able to tune into someone else and have those conversations, especially if you're running your company on your own, you need to have team members you can go to.
No, absolutely. How is it, how is it that you feel comfortable? What advice would you have for finding someone like this? I know within my own business, of course, whomever I talk to, like, completely straightforward, maybe about financials, about all the, the details, those sorts of things. Like, it really has to be someone I respect.
Right.
Because of the way they're living their life and making decisions, but then obviously trusting them. How do you how did you know that this person was the right one for you?
Well, I think you just said it. I mean, trusting someone. So you reveal a layer, and if that layer goes well, you reveal another layer, right? And that layer goes well, then, you know, the more you trust someone, the more layers you reveal, and the more confident, and then you become a confidant to each other, and that builds a friendship and a relationship. And some people aren't standing next to us all the time, and some people are. So you learn as you grow, and some relationships people walk away, and we learn that that's for a reason. So, you know, it's not always easy, but, you know, the people who stick by you are the ones. Those are the good eggs.
Yeah.
You know,
the good eggs. I love this question. Gonna pull it in here. I'm 89. Is it too late to start a business?
No. What are you passionate about? First of all, you're on Blab, right? And you're on
and
Twitter.
Yeah, started a Twitter account. So
So right there, I mean, you could be helping the people in your neighborhood get on the computer, or helping the people in your neighborhood get on Snapchat, or bring the people, you know, anything like that. So I think the way we live now, you know, helping is a key role. I think that starts the ball rolling. So congratulations, 89. I love that.
It is never too late. Never. So we had a question come in earlier, and I wanted to save it a little bit. It says, have you written any books? So I think this is a great time to talk about your book here.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
Have you written any books or ebooks?
I'm writing a book. So my book journey is it is coming to life. So my launch date is May 2016, and I am picking my cover today. I did my photo shoot, and
which was so fun.
Posted it on Snapchat. And writing a book is definitely a journey that takes a lot of work, and you're up a lot of editing and trying to find a story. I really had specifics of how I wanted my first book to be, and I had to make a financial aid book sexy. And so that's what I've been doing, and I'm happy to say I think she's going to be pretty good.
Did you get any help writing your book, or what was that process like, putting it together?
The process is kind of hard. You know, you need editors. And so I had to interview a lot of editors, people who I thought spoke the same language as I did, were confident in their writing, their skills. I felt comfortable with them. So that takes a lot of time. You definitely have to have a good team with you, whether you're going to self-publish or go with a publisher. What decisions you're going to make, what's the cover going to look like? Do you know your style? I'm sort of a minimalist. I definitely like clean and crisp. Some people are busy and amazing and pink, and I'm not. I'm sort of gray and black and white.
Just throw that in there.
So you need to know, what's important to you. I didn't want to write a how-to book. I wanted to write stories. So I'm excited that I've interviewed PR agents for the last 48 hours, and I think we've located one. So the journey has been good.
I think that was like when you first told me financial aid book, I'm like,
really? I'm never reading.
But I love that. And I just kind of want to bring this to the attention of the folks who are listening, in that you kind of wrote your book with stories of families that you've worked with. So it's not just like, hey, do this, do this. It's like, hey, there was this situation with this family, and this is how we solved this, right?
Right. So listen to this. This is crazy. So I don't know what you guys use. I use Evernote. Do you use Evernote? Anybody?
I am not at
Evernote. Okay. So on my contact page, I have a 30-minute free strategy session, and I've had it for 10 years. So there's a tweet that goes out like every day. So if you want a 30-minute free strategy session. So for 10 years, I had over 2,000 people write me stories like, my son is in college, and can we get on the phone? And we got on the phone. And so I've been doing this for 10 years. So my book is about all these families, not exactly their names. I've changed everyone's names. So it's about these stories of people who I've helped for years and years and years. And I've saved their stories in Evernote when I started my company. And so this is their journey. Cool.
That is awesome. That is
so
really
it's
cool.
Not how to fill out your FAFSA.
But that's what you think, right? You're like,
right.
oh, financial.
How boring is that going to be? No
like,
one's going to buy my
what's your
book
name
if
here?
I do that.
I love that because it actually, I mean, I feel like so much more digestible
Right.
in addition to so much more helpful, you know, when you actually have tangible situations, tangible, like, you know, with what has been going on and how they were solved.
So I had to get
you've got lots of,
right.
Go ahead.
You have to like everyone had to sort of buy into that notion that Jody wanted to write a book that was not how to fill out the FAFSA, and not to like, that must have taken me a year to figure that out. Not to get someone to say, oh, that's a great idea. It took a long time. Everyone wanted a how-to book, and I was like, no, you can't do that.
No. So we are wrapping up the show. What is next for Miss Jody? What's your, like, you know, what's your future looking like to you? I know you've got a book coming out. I know you want to get on some TV shows. I know you want to, like, you know, what are you hoping to do down the road?
I probably am going to write again. I never thought I would, but I definitely am going to write a book about millennials, how to open a business, how to start a business. So I definitely, I'm going to go to that journey. I'm hoping, you know, my name is a national brand. And I'm hoping that we can help a lot of families and kids understand the process of college. So there's a lot of open doors, and I think we're going to just try to go in as many as we can. Me,
That's
myself,
awesome.
and I.
I love it. Okay, so folks, we are gonna stop recording here in just a few minutes, and then we will start letting you jump in the seat, talk with Jody herself. But as we wrap up the show, Jody, where can people find you? Where should they connect with you?
You can find me on Twitter, JODIOKUN. I hang out there all day long.
She does. So talk with you about Mercury retrograde too.
Or whatever. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Anna.
No. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jody.
Thank you.
KP, get in with me on this yoga. Thank you.
KP's like, no.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. Please stay tuned for the after party. We'll be opening up that seat so you can jump in and talk to Jody yourself with any questions you might have. Definitely subscribe to next week's show. We're going to have Brian Fanzo on, which, if you're in the social media sphere, you know who he is. But this is going to be a completely different angle. Both Brian and I have ADHD, and we are going to be getting deep on what it's like being an entrepreneur, dealing with ADHD, medicine, all sorts of things like that, because I feel like this is a very relevant topic. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs out there are constantly dealing with mental disorders, and I think it's something that we should talk about more, so that everybody understands it's okay. You can still succeed. So anyway, make sure that you subscribe to next week's show. Join us. I'm so excited to have you. Thank you again for being here. If you want to catch this replay, you can check it out on YouTube as of tomorrow on my YouTube channel. In addition, we have a podcast that's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks. So keep your eyes out for that. I will definitely be promoting it when it comes. Thanks again so much, Jody, for being here.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you.